Objective 4 is about successfully defending and improving the working conditions of our members through bargaining. And this is where the big ticket item comes. So, interestingly, this had been part of discussions, and as I had said earlier, it was part of the platform that I ran on alongside my colleagues. And what was decided at the last National Executive Committee meeting was that we should actually be bold about the need to establish a strike fund for a number of reasons. One, because we cannot count on the fact that the bad decisions or the bad dimensions of C4 will be repealed anytime soon. So our access to arbitration is far from being guaranteed, even if a majority NDP government was to be elected, right, in Dreamland. Now, the reality, too, is that if we have no strike fund, the employer is laughing because there's no way we can fight back. We have no capacity to demonstrate the strength in number with that strike fund, without a strike fund. Alors,
so we need to prove to the whole world, including the employer, that CAPE is setting up a defense fund and a strike fund and say we are ready to fight. But the $1 million represents an amount that is almost equivalent to the budget surplus that we got in last year. So why did we get it? Well, for a number of reasons, and one of them is that we underestimated the fact that we have more EC members. We thought that the number of members would continue decreasing after the workforce adjustment, but in fact, we did get an increase in our numbers. And the second increase in the fees, the dues, so arrived at the same time. So there is a multiplier effect there, and there were staff members that left, and they had higher salaries, so there were cost savings in the salary portfolio. All this made the surplus possible. Now, CAPE often had surpluses along the year, but what we did, we put it into our assets or in our unrestricted reserve. And what we are going to do at the end of this fiscal year, the surplus is going to go to the reserve, but for 2015-16, we will take that from that reserve and put it as a new expense for $1 million to start the new strike fund.
Something like $2.6 million in unrestricted reserve. And we've had auditors over the years say you should always have the equivalent of 1 full year of a budget as an unrestricted reserve, which is a very, very cautious approach. So having surpluses is good to build that cushion. Now, if the membership supports it, and the process for voting on this budget I'll outline in a minute, but basically what we need is much more than $1 million. Actually, I mean, we haven't come up with a final figure, but I think we were, going with like a $10 million figure at some point as a kind of target. And we looked at what other unions have done, in particular PIPs, which we can compare ourselves with, and how they did it is they took a special levy, so they increased in one bump their dues for a while, and they created their strike fund that way. And then they bought a building, and part of their strike fund is their building. Another part of their strike fund is somewhere else. I don't know all the details. But all this to say that they had a plan for this, right? And of course, the NEC will have further discussions on how this plan will build itself in the future years. But I think we need to be conscious of the fact that this is really just the beginning, and we need to, create the conditions for it to continue building over the next few years. And I've alluded to, the PAPSO model where they decided to reimburse full salaries when their people were on strike. If we were to do that with CAPE members today, I think we wouldn't have more than one, with our current unrestricted reserve, I think we'd have something like 1 day of strike at full salary reimbursement for each CAPE member, right? So it's not tenable. And of course, that fund would be used not only for strike purposes, but also for all sorts of other defense mechanisms, as I alluded to, legal, public awareness through, ad campaigns and things like that. So it would be a combination of all this.